Hello, everyone. Let me turn some volume down, but I don't want to make it too soft so you guys can still hear the music. But hello, welcome to the stream. I realized my Kit I ate earlier is in the camera screen. Anyway, welcome to the stream. We are crocheting tonight. It's a little bit different than, our like gaming and whatnot. But I'm working on some Christmas presents and figured, it's probably a good idea to work on them and stream at the same time. Right now, I've just got this brown beanie going for me. I'll be making like 4 solid color beanies that I need to make before Christmas. For some family that's joining us for Christmas that doesn't normally join us. But then my mom was like, yeah, they're joining us. So I was like, I don't have presents from them. And she goes, neither do I. And I was like, can I make them a hat? And she was just like, sure. They work outside. They do things out in the cold. They probably want one. That's a good idea. That's how it ended up being that these are coming into play. And then those that are hopping in, not that way. Let's see. Can I point the right way? Yep. This way, over on the top left part of the screen, my poetry book was released today. It is called Dancing with My Demons. It discusses a lot of my trauma and how I went through a healing journey, how my healing journey is still continuing, but then how it's impacting me for the future and where I'm seeing myself in the future. So we're hoping to... That's been published today. It's available on Amazon, Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and then there's some others that are the other apps, like library apps. It should be on, I don't know if it's on Hoopla yet, but it might be on Everend, and I think it's on Fable too. And I swear there's another one in there that it's also on. But that's also in my beacons under my author page. So if you're interested in like a little poetry book, then there is my book. But yeah, today, well, I should say tomorrow, I actually don't have to go to work. We are off for Veterans Day, so I figured, why don't I stream tonight and work on some presents and just kind of chat. You guys can listen to the music that I have in the background. I can chat for a little while. And basically just when I get tired of crocheting, then I can call stream there. It's not really something that has to be like, oh, time to go to bed at this time like I usually do, because I get up at 5 or 6 in the morning. And now it's like, well, I can go to bed, but I get to sleep in tomorrow. I also need to turn my alarms off. While I'm talking about it, I should do that after stream. I did that one time where we were off. I want to say it was for Juneteenth. It might have been Juneteenth or Memorial Day. I swear it was like in May or June when I didn't turn off my alarm. And I went to bed super late, like 2 or 3 in the morning, because I was working on other stuff, and then I was like, I'll just, I don't go to work tomorrow, so it's not that big of a deal. Then my alarm woke me up at 5:30, and I was like, who in the world is waking me up at this freaking time? And then I looked, and I was like, I didn't turn my alarms off. Because I have one that's like, hey, it's time to get up. Then I have one that's like, are you actually up right now? And then another one which is like, okay, it's time to get dressed. And then the other one that's like, hey, you need to like get to the bathroom and start heading to work. And then I have my like 7 o'clock alarm, which is like, you need to be getting ready to get out the door in the next like 10 minutes. So, and it's mostly like reminder alarms, but when I am not supposed to actually be getting up, boy, will I glare at those alarms. Like, I'll be like, no, I'm not supposed to get up. Why are you doing this? So I have to remember to turn those off tonight. Also, I've had some videos going up on YouTube. Silly me forgot that including into the description where you put your hashtags, you might want to put in the tags of the video too. And I hadn't been doing that for the past like 10 videos. I was like, man, my content is not started going everywhere, and then it went to like nothing. Yeah, it helps when you put the tags in the video. You start to see like actual people start coming your direction. I'm gonna have to take my bracelets off, or this bracelet off. I have my evil eye bracelet on, but right now I'll just put it over here because every time I'm crocheting it's like clack, 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 clack. I sound like I'm a horse clopping around with this bracelet. And then of course I have a scrunchie on right now because my hair is down. But I figured I'm probably gonna get warm during stream, so then I can just kind of throw my hair up. At least put it in like a ponytail or something to not make me so warm. I'm also wearing my favorite sweater, which I don't know if I can actually, I'll have to get up and show. It's my favorite sweater. It's the Heart's Heavy Burden sweater. Because I love Howl's Moving Castle. So it's my favorite sweater. Well, it's like my second favorite sweater. My all-time favorite sweater is my dad's sweater that he gave me because it's like big and fluffy. It's big and soft, and it's like an old-timey sweater. I've had people like one person I worked with was like, can I give you like $100 or even $200 to get your sweater? Can I just buy it off of you? And I was like, no, it's my dad's. He gave it to me, but she was like, you should sell it. And I was like, no, it's comfy. And every time I don't feel too good, or I'm having cramps, or mentally I'm not doing good, I put that sweater on, especially if it's cold outside, because it makes me feel very comforting and like safe in it. So I am not selling it. It is mine. Until it just decides to like unravel or, you know, whatever, but it's staying mine. If you're wondering, this is actually a double crochet row here. So I'm having to do, let's see, I'm on the 10th of 14 rows for this one. So it shouldn't be too hard to finish up. Really will, may have to put my hair up because I am already getting warm. But I've done a lot of it like last night. I did a pretty good chunk of this hat because I was like, I don't really feel like doing anything other than crocheting. And then I was like, well, if I do that, then I can just kind of take the night to just crochet and then head to bed, get ready for work, and then go to work. Which, funny enough, I think everybody today was more on the lines of, oh, I'm having to get this because for some reason my back is killing me. I'm like, do I lean back like this to make sure my back doesn't hurt? It doesn't really work well. If I sit up with good posture, it hurts more. That's what I'm trying to do. Anyway, today at work, because we're all off tomorrow, a lot of people were like, we'll just take today off and just like not come in. So a lot of people were not here today, so I actually got a pretty good day of, you know, just being at the work and getting things done, and then headed home. And then I found me and my sister some matching pajamas at Walmart, which are so soft. If you like the Joy Spun pajamas, they have a new line. They have a new line where it's like a so soft material and it makes it super duper soft. And I love them. They're so cute. And they're Christmas pajamas. But honestly, like, I could wear the pants just as is with something else because they're just like red, and there's like red plaid. And then trying to make sure like you guys are like see everything. There we go. Now you guys can actually see the hat going on. But and that top is just like a red plaid with like Mary on it. So I mean, it doesn't like explicitly say Christmas or holidays or whatever on it. So it could also just be used as like a shirt. So I liked it more than there was a Fa La 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 one, and then there was like a Sweet Dreams, and there was like a teddy bear, and then there's a pink plaid that just said Snooze on it. Which honestly, I liked the teddy bear one too, but I wanted something that was kind of Christmassy, but I could also kind of use for just other things. And then I saw those, and I was like, hey, those have our sizes, and they're cute, and they're soft. So yeah, let's do that. And so ended up doing that instead. As for tomorrow, I don't know what I'm going to end up doing tomorrow. If I'm going to end up... I want to record some videos, but we'll see if I still want to do that tomorrow. I'll be sleeping in for sure. Kind of chilling like a villain. And then I checked out, I was watching, because for some reason my YouTube has been on a GOT7 K-pop kick, and it has been like all over. It's like, here's some gameplay content, then GOT7. Here's some other things. Here's a reaction video of GOT7. So I was like, well, I might as well like watch some reaction videos, you know. Those are fun. I like seeing people's reactions and stuff. And then I came across the behind the scenes of one of their albums, which is funny because it's one of their like newest album, which is Pentagon, from I think last year. And it was showing the recording process and how each song within the Pentagon album, every single song was written by a different member, and every song that was written by a different member was actually written in their style of choosing. So like one of them did a folk, it was like how did he describe it, a folk pop, I think is how he described it, because he likes singing in the folk music. And then there were some that were like, oh, I want it to be more kind of like slow dancing, some that was more reggae. And you could see, it was like an hour long, but it was a behind the scenes of them recording, but it also explained that what each song meant to the member who wrote and produced the song too. And I really liked that behind the scenes a lot, because it wasn't just the normal like, oh, we're behind the scenes, we're recording, or okay, now we're gonna go behind the scenes of the music video and see where it goes A to B or something like that. Like, I liked how it described how each member, why they wrote the song and how it made them feel, and then like why they chose the style they did. So I found that also in my GOT7's like everything going on. And I realized there were some songs that, since I have moved off of Spotify Music and moved on to YouTube Music, I've been having to rebuild my entire playlist. because I tried to do, so I tried to do the transferring where it's like it transfers Spotify to YouTube Music, especially because I did have Spotify Premium, and it just didn't. It like, I clicked the button to transfer it, it loaded up, and then it stopped. Well, I clicked it again. It didn't even load up the second time. Well, I tried the third time. Well, it loaded up and then said, we're working on transferring your music over. And then when it was like, oh, it's done. Well, I switched back over. There was nothing there. So I gave up. I give up. And just figured, you know what? I'll just rebuild my playlists on YouTube. And luckily, YouTube Premium has the liked music, so I can go back and like all the songs and add them into my list. That thing is having to remember what songs are in there. Because there are some that YouTube is not recommending me, and I'm like, well, I remembered I liked the song, but what was the title of that song? So I'm having to like sing the song and try to like type in the lyric to get the right song to come up. And then if it's a freaking K-drama or a K-pop group, I'm like, I need to remember the group before I remember the song, because it's about where I'm gonna have to find it. So, to see if I need to, I think this is the last double crochet of the row. Yeah. And then you're gonna go here, you're gonna pull right through. So there's row 10. Oops, and I just knocked my mic. Now we're on row 11. So you chain 1, a 2, and then we double crochet. Let me tell you, this particular, oops, I went too far over. This particular crochet instructions, I almost said the crochet recipe, but the crochet instructions, this one keeps messing me up because I've been doing a lot of granny squares, where if you go to the next row, you crochet 3 times and then you do whatever the part is, because that is considered a double crochet for that row. Well, on here, when you chain, the chains don't matter. They are just chains. So you only do 2 chains and then you have to double crochet within the same area. So like when I chained right here at the beginning, this one like right there, I pull it out. See? Right there. Well, the crochet also has to fit in the hole where my finger is, right there. So I have to put another double crochet right there, when if this was a double crochet, I would only have to be like 1 over. So let me tell you, I kept messing that up at the beginning because I was like, oh, I go here. No, you don't. You do not do that. For this is actually going to be, this one's actually going to be for my uncle. It's actually going to be his first Christmas with us. Typically, he's actually moved back to my hometown from Arizona. And basically, he kind of got tired of being out there and wanted to return back home, which includes his family that comes with him. And so my mom will be hosting both Thanksgiving and Christmas, which means we get double the amount of people that we're usually used to. Because, well, with my grandmother now gone, it would be just me, my mom, and my dad. This time it's going to be, instead of like 3, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Be about 9, maybe 10 people for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's gonna be definitely, like, even my mom's like texting me like, do you think this is gonna be enough? Like, do you think this is enough food? And I'm like, girl, remember, I knew and I'm like, because she's asking me like if I know how they'll eat. And I'm like, the last time I met these people was when I was in like elementary school, middle school. Like, and I'm 27 now. It's been a while. I don't know. I don't know what they eat. I don't know what they eat, what they cook. And the last time they were down, we kind of just ate out. We did not like cook a whole lot, but now we're like cooking. So, and I was like, they've been over to the house more than I've been around them because I've been not in my hometown. So you guys know how they eat better than I do. But I did remind her, I was like, look, I don't know how much they eat, but if you look between the three of us, me, you, and Dad's gonna eat a fair amount, like not a whole lot, but it's gonna be enough. He'll have like 2 or 3 plates. Usually I have a plate, maybe a plate and a half. Mom barely has a plate nowadays. If she's really hungry, it'll be a plate. But I was like, comparatively, we don't really eat that much. We get our full, and we kind of munch throughout the day. We don't really like go like full Thanksgiving meal, woo, and then like don't eat anything afterwards. We kind of munch throughout the day. Usually it's like munch throughout the day, then we'll go watch the dog show, and then we may take a nap. I still remember one Thanksgiving, I must have been really tired because I was sitting on the couch with my mom. We were watching the dog show. My dad was in the recliner, my grandmother was in her recliner. We were just watching the dog show. Next thing I knew, I was asleep in her lap. And I was like in my 20s right now. And I just passed out like on her. But somehow in the process of me falling asleep, she also fell asleep. So she fell asleep on me. So when I woke up, my grandmother's just sitting there like, did you have a nice nap? And I'm like, I fell asleep. And I'm like, wait a minute. I feel like I feel like something's laying on me. And I look up, my mom's asleep on me. And I'm like, Mom fell asleep too. And it's like, yeah, you both did. I was like, whoops, we both just knocked out. It's fine. But I think it'll be interesting. So that's what like this is for. I have other colors that I plan to do for the rest of the people who are going to be at the everything else. Because yay, colors. And it's probably because I just was like, do I want to try and do all this? I don't know. But I knew these were like doing this particular pattern was actually going to be the easiest because I made these last year for both, at least, I actually think I made it for everyone last year. I altered my sister's a bit because I wanted her to do like a slouch beanie kind of thing. And so I made hers more of a slouch. But my mom, my dad, and my grandma all had one exactly like this last year. Except like my mom's I embroidered her school logo on it. But my grandmother had a green one, and I think I gave my dad like a hot like the highlighter orange one because he works on a lot of like semis and stuff. So I figured, well, it might be better for him to have that. Actually, no, I think I gave him a scarf last year because he was like, he kept complaining that his like neck was getting cold. I think that's what I did last year. So I may make him one this year. I may make one of these for him this year. I realize that now. Which, I mean, from what I can tell, everything I've given him, he just wears all the time, so Mom was like, yeah, if you make him something, he's gonna wear it all the time. You've seen what he's done with your scarf and the hat that you got him when you were in France. And I was like, yeah, he just wears it. And it's so funny. It's funny to me. Because he's like, yeah, it's my favorite hat. And I'm like, that you got like last year for me. My tummy is trying to decide if it is going to be tummy problems. It usually does, or if it is going to be fine. Didn't expect that. Whew. Just gonna sneeze a bunch, I guess. There we go. Trying to figure out. Yeah. So those who are watching, I will be right back. I think my stomach's trying to do some stuff. I will put a message into the chat to just be like, BRB. back. Let's hope that don't happen again. If it does, I'm gonna have to call it, because that was... Don't wish IBS on anybody. Anyway, I have also, fun fact, which may or may not be entering the stream eventually, is that I have been playing Genshin Impact. And I have loved the art style so far. I have been all over it. Honestly, I may play even after stream tonight, just to like have some fun with playing some games and whatnot. So I may do that. I haven't unlocked a lot of characters yet, so I haven't, still at the beginning, but I have liked the fighting so far, the combat, which says a lot for me because I don't typically like combat. I would rather just have, like, you know, the little farming part, which I do like the collectibles and the cooking, but I'm really liking the combat. I like chasing after things and trying to see what works against them and like what fight, like if I hit them with this, is it stronger or weaker? And then they're adding in all sorts of magic things going on. The first one they give you gets Amber. I'm loving her because the one type of ability she has is like she throws up this like plush thing and it dances and like grabs them and then explodes. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be using that. I ended up doing that because I accidentally ran into like a big mob, or not like a big mob, but it was like a group. And I was like, guess who's gonna use the little explosion thing and let them take care of it, and then I'm gonna take out the little bits. I ended up doing that. It knocked most of them like down to just like barely any health, so I just hit them like with my main character's sword like once or twice, and it was like, done. They were about the same level as me, and I was like, done. You're out. So I want to try to get used to it. Basically, I know I want to bring Genshin Impact and Dead by Daylight both to this stream, but I want to get used to both of them before I try to stream it, because I feel like both of them have a curve that I need to learn. And I am currently trying to learn Genshin's, and eventually I will be learning Dead by Daylight's. So it's interesting. It's also interesting, I've been playing a lot of games that are usually probably not in my wheelhouse. Like, for me to even try Dark Deception on the YouTube channel is pretty, like, wild for me, because if you would have asked me, like, last year or the year before when I really did start streaming, I'd tell you, like, I don't do, like, horror, spooky games. They're fun to watch, but I don't do them. And now, like, I'm like, okay, I can get scared, but I can also appreciate the, like, the art or how it looks, or like the mechanics of the character. Because I have done that in not Dead by Daylight, Dark Deception. I can appreciate the character mechanics. They may be a pain in the butt, but I do appreciate them. And Spookies, I've been playing Spookies Jump Scare Mansion, and that's another one where I appreciate what the game is like. I've seen it like when it first was being like a big thing on YouTube. I think Markiplier played it, and a few of the other big name creators. And I was like, well, it was like for free. I want to say it was for free or for like $2 or $3 for like Halloween. So I got it, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play it and make a video out of it, and I'm gonna play it and see if I enjoy it. And I actually really did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun to go through the levels, but also to like deal with like the creepy, like the scary monsters that I was after, like trying to be like, all right, I need to run from this one, or this one's gonna come on my, like, is gonna drop like down, so I need to make sure I'm out of the way, or I'm out of the area. Or that, like, oh, it floats, so if it's floating, I need to like make sure I hit this one's part before it floats over. So I actually enjoyed it, and I do enjoy that, like, I do get a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to spookies with messing up. And that is what I like. Dark Deception is not as friendly with that. So I have died a ton of times. I actually could not stop dying on the last, or the latest chapter, which was the Gold Watchers, that I had to take a break. I literally like set my controller down and was like, look, apparently I am not mentally ready for this. I am setting the controller down. And I figured if I feel up to it, I will go back to it and try again. But if I still can't get around it, it's not like I need to finish this one thing. I do want to try and finish Spooky's Jump Scare, because I do want to try and reach 1,000 floors. I think I got up to 250, I think. Or at least I think I went to 200. I think I'm right at 200. So I feel like, you know, I can continue going up, up, up. It's gonna get really spooky as I go further up, or further down. Be further down. I guess it'd be further down because the elevator goes down. I think that's probably what it is. And then actually the newest video on my channel, I don't think it's the newest, but it's one of my new videos. I was replaying a game I played in childhood. And it was called Hamtaro's Ham Ham Games. And if you know the Hamtaro series, I watched it, I want to say it was on like Fox Kids one day. And I watched a few of the episodes. And I adored Hamtaro and the friends, like Boss and Bijou and Cappy. I loved all of those little hamsters. And it was to the point that I really loved those hamsters. And I had a Game Boy, I want to say it was a Game Boy Advance. I know I had a Game Boy Advance, but then I lost it. So then I got the Game Boy SP. And I want to say it was one of those is when I first was playing it. And my mom got me the Hamtaro Ham Ham Games. I want to say it was my mom. I really don't remember who actually got it for me for Christmas. Or if it was my birthday, or I don't know. I got it somehow in childhood. And I played the living stuffing out of that game. I know I even played it when I got my first Nintendo DS. I was still playing the Hamtaro game in the Game Boy Advance slot. Because I just loved playing that game and trying to get a gold medal, or at least trying to place on the podium. So I was playing that on stream, or not on stream, but on YouTube. I think I posted on not today's Monday. I want to say I posted it on Saturday or Sunday. It was over the weekend, and I still like feel the nostalgia with it. So I am more than likely going to go back to playing that game, just because it has been a blast. And I'm thinking I might do that more often, is just playing like retro games that I've either played before or doing games that I've never played. My first thought, which I want to say I did record a video. I know one of them didn't turn out right, which I think was Pokemon Rangers. I don't know if, I don't think Kirby also turned out good either, but I played Kirby for the first time. And I think I'm going to have to re-record it because the file messed up. But I was thinking of that because, like, I've never played a Kirby game before. So I tried it. And so I was thinking, I'm like, do I want to try doing that where I start trying to play some older games of mine that I've never played before? So, like, do I end up trying some of those again? Try playing ones I've never played before. Like, one things that popped in my mind was WarioWare. I've heard all about it, but I've never actually played a WarioWare. Or Rhythm Heaven. Like, I've heard about it. It looks like a lot of fun. Never played it. And if I went back to childhood games, I would be like Cooking Mama, Nintendogs, any of the Pokemon games. Even Big Brain Academy would be one. Because I was one who, well, actually, I remember the reason why I got Big Brain Academy. I got Big Brain Academy because my mom thought it would be a good idea to help me learn. Whoop, I just knocked my mic. But that my mom thought Big Brain Academy would help me learn math easier. Especially, like, I think it was multiplication at the time. But it was supposed to, I want to say Big Brain was supposed to help me learn math easier. I still am not the most confident with math, but I enjoyed the brain teasers and stuff in it, I was like, I still played it a lot. But I don't think it ever helped my math, and I think that's just more of a me thing, not than anything trying to help me. I, for the longest time, did not know multiplication facts. And we, in 5th grade, were tested every, I want to say it was weekly. Weekly, we had a multiplication test where it started out with like the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6, all the way up to 12. And then while school was still going on, past the 12s, it would mix in. You would have like 5, like the first problem would be 4 times 5, and then the next problem would be 7 times 6, and the next problem would be 12 times 2. And you had to do it within a time limit. You had like, I want to say it was like 10 minutes to do like 20 problems or something. I think that's what it was. Because I remember it was like a sheet of paper. It was like the 11 by 8, and there was like 5 across, and I think 4 rows. So that would be 20. Because it was 5 this way, and then you 5 down. So I think it was 20 problems. I know it had, the other ones had to at least go up to 12. So even if they did like 4 across, it would still have to be like 3 rows to at least get like all the way up to 12 times 12. But I want to say after we started mixing them together is when it became like, instead of just 12 problems, it was up to 20. But that was also with a teacher who, I don't think she enjoyed teaching, or at least she didn't enjoy math teaching. She ended up teaching dance for elementary school kids a few years after I graduated or moved on from elementary school to middle school. I don't know if she ever got nicer, but I remember her yelling at me and like full on like yelling red in the face because I did not know my multiplication facts. And that because I wasn't getting them, like she couldn't, her looking at me and going, what's 7 times 7? And instead of me immediately being like 49 and me going, I don't know, made her like red in the face, screaming how I should know these and, you know, I should be studying these at home and don't understand why I'm not getting them, so I'm gonna fail. Like, girly, honey, I hate to tell you, but we never actually studied them in class. It was all like, you're doing a multiplication test, go figure it out. And so I literally had to come up with like random things to help me remember numbers. 5s were fine. My mom was the one who taught me like the 9 trick, where it's like, oh look, 27, 36, 45 is what she taught me with my hands. Because that teacher was like 9 times 4, instead of being like 36, she's like, you gonna know it? And I was just like, no, I'm not. So my mom taught me that trick. And then I had such trouble with 7 times 6, 7 times 7, and 7 times 8. Those were the 3 that I always screwed up on. And it was not really, I never knew exactly why I screwed up on those. So I literally went, like, I created a song in my head. And I think it was like 7 times 6 is 482. Now what is 7 times 7? 7 times 7 is a 489. 49 is 7 times 7. Like 7 times 8 is 56. Stuff like that. Like singing the answer into my head helped me at least remember that the reason we were supposed to be like memorizing them helped me memorize those particular 3. But I still, like, I mean, once I got into high school, math was okay. It's never my favorite. This is coming from a geologist who deals with math, especially the geochemistry side of things. I don't like math. I will tell you that right now. Give me some science without math, I will gladly talk your ear off about it. If you're like, let's do some physics, which has so much freaking math, get me out of it. I will beg to be out of it. But, needless to say, don't like math. Never have. I want to say the math classes I liked was probably my trigonometry class in college, just because it made sense and the teacher explained it well. And then my favorite class in high school was probably college algebra, and that's, again, the teacher explained the math well. Anything outside of that, I hated with a passion. I remember or at least faintly remember in middle school that math wasn't too bad. I did fine in it, it's just never enjoyable for me. I was honestly expecting them to make me do a lot more math than what I did in undergrad. And I feel like me going for my PhD, they're probably gonna make me do more math. Only because I should have done more math, but no one said anything. So technically my degree doesn't exist anymore in my undergrad because they completely changed the entire department. So I used to be, well, my degree is an earth science major. I'm Bachelor of Arts in Earth Science major. That's my degree title. But if you go to my university, it doesn't exist. Earth science, don't know her. She is no longer there. If you ask, what's a geology major? I don't know her. It's don't exist. Now it's more like they take geology, but instead it's like engineering geology or environmental geology. So the actual like just singular regular old geology doesn't exist. Regular earth science doesn't exist. And I honestly think what they ended up doing is they ended up taking the geology one that I just mentioned, the earth science, and that's how they came up with engineering geology, environmental geology. Because you had two people, a lot of people were on two different paths. Which one was engineering. They had like a minor in engineering or engineering mathematics or something along those lines. The others were either geology or were like me, who had an environmental science minor, because both the geology and the earth science degree required a minor to be completed upon upon your bachelor's. So you had to find some sort of minor that worked. And now me, I tried to do a few different minors, but nothing worked until I became an environmental science. I was first a legal studies minor, and because I had the plan to go to law school, a few things happened that made that change. One was most of the classes were political science. And that is one particular field I don't really have an interest in. I understand the politics, but I don't really care for the political science classes. And it was more just annoying to be in those classes. And I was a political science major before I was an earth science major. Between the two, the major and the minor, it was annoying. But then there was a core class you had to take to be in the legal studies minor. It was only offered once every 4 years and was only offered between 3 and 5 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This was directly in between I think it was like 3:15 to 5. It was directly in between my marching band, which was from 3 to 5:30. Or 3:30 to 5:30, something like that. I know we got out at 5:30. I don't remember when we started, but it was one of those two. And so right between then, and most of the time when I had my marching band hour, I would usually either go grab dinner right after, or I would immediately have to go work the desk as an RA or a CA. And so marching band was every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And especially you had to be there Friday, because if we had a game on Saturday, we were rehearsing to prepare for the next day. And so it took up a lot of my time. And the reason, I adore marching band, I love it to death, but it also helped pay for my school. So that was just like a nice bonus on top of it. But I talked with the legal studies professor of that class, and she was like, well, it shows if you're really up to being a legal studies minor. If you're willing to drop everything to take my class, or if you're willing to risk your degree based on something that only pays part of your school, when you could take my class and complete the degree. The thing is, she didn't tell me that there's a part 2 of her class that also is 3:30 to 5:30, or 3 to 5 or whatever, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the following semester. So she didn't tell me that, but I figured it out from some students. That honestly rubbed me the wrong way, and that actually happened at the end of when I switched my minor, because I was like, the first time I did the political science, hated the classes. The next thing I did was take the LSAT. I was like, I'm gonna try it. I took it I think I took it 3 times, because I took it twice at my university. And then a third time, I actually had to travel to a different city to take it. And all 3 times, well, the first 2 times, I was below the line for even admitting to law school. I was like deep below the line. The third time, I actually hit right under the benchmark. It was like, I want to say it was like, I know it was 300 and something for that time, and I was like, I think it's like 320s, and I hit like 315, right under. And I was not enjoying the test, because honestly it was because of one of the sections, which is called the logic games, because it's about taking the question and picking every detail apart to find the answer that is not on the page. So what I mean by that is, if they give you a box, and the box has 4 quadrants in it. Boxes 4 quadrants are 1, 2, 3, and 4. Person in number 3 is suing person number 1 for negligence of something. And then you have to make the case of why number 3 is actually wrong. And here's the thing. the reason they're wrong is actually because of number 7, who talked to number 5, who also talked to number 3, who helped win his case, because that's why he's wrong against number 1. That's this type of twist and turns it has. You didn't even know 5 and 7 were on the page, but they were, because they were assumed to be there. So, honestly, I think you can go online and you can play logic games, like LSAT logic games, and just see if you can even do any of them. Some people had a great time, but even one of the guys that was also doing law school, who was like on the law school track that I was, he was like really intelligent, getting all A's in every class. Very like, he knew how to work a courtroom, how to talk things. Like, I thought he would get like excellent scores, but even he told me, he was like, these logic games are pain. I am not getting a high score because of this, because it is such a pain to work with. And he was just like, yeah, this was ridiculous. And so it ended up being quite an eye-opener that was what a lot of our issues were in the LSAT. So for me, I think he ended up just majoring in political science and just went from there. I switched degrees to earth science, and then I dropped the legal minor after the professor said I had to prove myself worthy to be in her classroom by dropping marching band that was paying for my school. So, I ended up becoming a music minor, and I was actually double minoring at the time in music minor and environmental science. And this was because I was wanting a music minor just to be like, yeah, I have a music minor. Give me 1 second. But 2, there was a requirement that had to be some sort of music something to be in the fraternity I was in, because I was in a music fraternity. A lot of them were music majors, so they kind of got away with just being a music major. Me not being that, I had to kind of work my way around it, being nowhere even within the music realm, except for marching band, pep band, concert band, etc. So, I tried to do the music minor, but this became, apparently the music minor was not well constructed, because they didn't expect anybody to be a music minor. I went to talk with the head of the music minor section, and he was like, well, we didn't even expect people to even be a music minor, so the one class that you need to complete the minor is only offered every like 4 to 8 years. And I was like, say what? And he was like, yeah, it's only offered between those times. So the next one, let's see, it was like 2015 at the time. They were like, so maybe by 2020 we'll have the class. I'm like, come on, 2020 is when I graduated. So I think it was 2018. And so they were saying by 2022, 2023 is when they would have the class again. It did not take me long after that for, because I had already talked, well, let me back up. I had already talked to my advisor about my concern with the music minor because the class was not being offered. And I was concerned that the major, me needing a minor for my major, I needed to find something I could easily do. And that was when my advisor was like, hey, why don't you look at the environmental science minor? Because you should be able to take the classes you've learned in geology, and you should only need about like 3 classes to complete the minor, because you've done basically everything else with the geology side. So she helped me fill out the paperwork to declare my minor as an environmental science and sustainability as a second minor. And this was because in case my music minor could not be filled, I at least had a minor to graduate. And lo and behold, that is when I got the word that the particular class, the one class I needed to graduate with the music minor, was not going to be offered anytime soon. And it didn't actually be offered until, let's see, it was 2020 is when I graduated. I don't think it was offered until 2022 still, because I had someone who was in the music minor class and she did not take the second class until she was basically out to graduate, and she was 2 years behind me. So that says something. So I became an environmental science major, and I think that's when they kind of used the environmental geology with the environmental science minor, just because it now focuses more geology based, but there are a lot more environmental classes too. Which I think it's a good idea for them to have that, because not everybody wants to be an engineering geologist. I would not be one, and that's simply because of the math. Again, the environmental science minors are actually more hypothetical with how they go about things. Instead of being like, oh, we need to figure out the calculations for this to be here, here, and here, the environmental ones are like, okay, if this happens, what do we predict in the future to happen to this? And funny enough, my groundwater stuff that I've been doing has kind of combined both of them by complete accident. We are on the last row of the hat. So, actually, before I get into that conversation with my groundwater, here is the hat. We will be doing the next row, which is going to be interesting because instead of going this way, like my hook going this way, it's telling me I need to turn it the opposite way and go back the other way around with a different stitch. So that will be interesting. I'm supposed to chain one and then just single crochet my butt around. So be interesting. So we're gonna just do that all the way around. Anyway, so the groundwater stuff that I've been doing, and what I've been doing for work, honestly, has been a combination of the two. Now, at least at work, we already have engineers, so we don't have to do both. I usually use the excuse, we already have engineers, they can do it. And if there is something that is very engineered based, I go ask one of them and go, okay, help. But most of the time, my stuff is more, instead of like engineering math, it's more chemical math. I think that's because more of the chemistry stuff that I do. Which, did I ever think I'm going to be sitting here in front of you right now going, yes, I actually really enjoy geochemistry and I want to study it. And going for my PhD, one of the routes that I want to study is geochemistry. No, I would have never thought that. I honestly did not think. Geology I could see myself doing, but chemistry, no, did not think so whatsoever. And it was honestly by chance, because it was solely my advisor was like, hey, you have chemistry in your charts. You understand chemistry. I have a project that will fund your entire master's degree. Come here. And I was like, we had the conversation, we met in person, I met a few students, beam bam boom, I got my master, I started my master's. So, and it was a lot of chemistry based. The only thing I struggled with was the comprehensive exams, and that's just because I'm a bad test taker. Up and down, left and right, I will tell you I am a horrible test taker. I I can tell you right now, I will tell you, like, oh, I know what we're talking about. You put the paper in front of me that says, here, do it, or here, explain it. I'm like, you want me to do what now? Suddenly that information is, like, off on its own adventure. It comes back eventually. So I just don't try to do that. But the comprehensive exams were my, like, the hardest part for me, and I had actually ended up having to retake them because I just didn't. I got what they were wanting, but it wasn't the way they wanted it. So they were like, here is feedback. You may use said feedback on the next one. Do it. So once I did it that way, and they gave me like a room to be by myself in, they was able to at least pass the comprehensive exams. But my advisor knew. He was like, I know you're smart. I know you know what you're talking about. You just don't test well. You just don't test. And even one of my committee members was like, look, I know you know we've talked about this. We literally talked about this in class. We've talked about it with your project. What you're doing is not exactly what I need. So, but still somehow the chemistry came out, and funny enough, a lot of people were like, the worst part of the masters is your defense, because, you know, you're putting all of your project, your research on the line and expecting basically them to be like, all right, what do you think about this? And then you're like, well, I did this. And they're like, no, you didn't. And you're like, yeah, I did. It's right here. And they're like, no, you didn't. I didn't have that, luckily. You know, I'm grateful for that. I actually had more of like, oh, this is a good research. And you explained it like a teacher would. So it's really hard for us to tear it apart. But we're going to give you some hypotheticals. And some of the hypotheticals are not going to actually come from us. It's going to come from the company you worked for. So that completely went a whole different route than I was expecting. Because I was full on expecting it to go wrong. Or for at least the questions to be like brutal. And I mean, I was like, you know, they're going to rip my defense apart. My defense, I'm going to be defending my butt off. Because I'd heard from other master students that, like, they grill you on questions to see if you actually know what you're talking about or doing what you need to talk about. But the thing is, I did my brown bag with the same similar sort of presentation, except, of course, didn't have the results. And I took my professor's criticisms with it and molded it into the presentation that I did for my defense. And so the questions they were planning on asking me ended up actually being in the PowerPoint already. So they couldn't really ask me, because I would just be like, well, if you remember on slide 5, it said. So I would kind of do that instead. So, because we did practice, like, I practiced it with my advisor, and he was like, so tell me about this. And I was like, well, back on slide da-da-da. And he was like, well, that works. I can't tell you that's the wrong way to do it, because it's actually the right way to do it. You're just being, like, smart about it. So that is the hat. I'm going to try it on to make sure that... So yeah. It's big on me. It's a little big. But, you know, something like that would be pretty good for my uncle, I believe. If it's covering my hair, plus my, like, part of my ears, I actually think that'll be good. Because he has short hair, but larger ears. Won't do that yet. Let me fix that thing. So I'm going to have to thread this all, which is somewhere over here. There it is. Right here. So, yeah, my thesis ended up being more of a hypothetical of, what do you think about this? And I was like, well, actually, my thought is this, and this. Because I think they asked, I remembered one of the hypotheticals was like, okay, now that you've done all of this project, how do you believe this research will help things going forward? And I was like, well, I think the way to do this is actually, would be great to impact the other wells that actually have issues and mine doesn't have issues, to maybe help you figure out what the issues are in the other wells. And then you can use my research to help it for the better. Or if you know that this actually works and the other doesn't, well, then you can figure out what actually works for your well field. And the company that I'm actually worked for on that was like, thank you for the research. This is actually going to help us in the long run. We're really thankful for it. And they asked me something similar to like that type of thing where it's like, oh, well, if you think that this could happen, like what is your thoughts on the whole process? And then there's me who's just like, well, based on my research, I think I remember telling my sister and my mom that I had more in-depth questions at the Water Valley conference than I did at my defense. Because my defense was like 2 hypothetical questions. My actual, I didn't actually get to go to it because it was still during COVID. So I had to do the conference online. But it was the state regional conference. And of course, I had this type of conference can be for anybody. It can be professors, it can be water operators, it can be, plant owners, it can be just simple water samplers. It can be anybody can come to this conference as long as they're affiliated with it. And so it ended up being my group, my session ended up having just a bit of everybody. My advisor came because he was like, well, I'm curious who's going to say something. And so I believe the rest of my committee members showed up too as well. I believe it was all 3 of them showed up, and they didn't ask questions. They just kind of watched me present, because more water operators and water samplers and stuff asked me a lot more questions than they needed to. Because it was like, oh, what do you think about this? And I'd be like, oh, well, there's this. Or they're like, how deep is this well? Well, it's this feet. So it was quite funny to see me having a lot of questions for the conference, to then go to my defense for 2 questions. But that's another fun fact of my thesis is I grew up because of all of the groundwater that I did do. I dealt with wells that were 100 to 200 feet or more. And now where I'm working, the lowest depth I've found is 50 feet. I'm like, y'all got some short wells. And they're like, well, we know our, the deepest well we got here is 200 and something feet. And I was like, the deepest well I've sampled is 2,634. So I think it's that. It might be 2,364. I always flip them up numbers, but when I did my thesis, I could tell you exactly what the number was. I was like, yeah, I did 2,000 plus. And then even now they're like, well, I'm sampling out in the old boonies of this town. And I'm like, I sampled in a town where I had bullets in the background going pew, pew. And I was told by particularly the person who was advising me, they were not my advisor, they were just one of the members who was helping us, told me to get in the car right now. And we needed to leave. So, which that's one of my coworkers was like, Yeah, have you ever had that happen to you where you're on like a property you're not supposed to be, and like people come out and they're like, you know, get off my property, and they're like, I was like, I've had bullets shot at me, so not shot at me, but it was around me, and it was a close enough distance that it sounded like it was coming more to us. So we decided to just call sampling for the day, try again tomorrow. And that's what we ended up doing with that one. Even the sampling that I ended up helping out, there was one time where I was told they're like, oh, we're gonna have you come out and help. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come out and help. Well, we get to the site and they're like, well, this one's actually like private property, so if the owner comes out with a gun, you know, you might want to be careful. And I'm like, what? You tell me that when we get here? And then other times it was just like, oh, we're at this random field. There's the well. Simple. And I'd say my most entertaining sampling event was actually, I had to sample the well that I was mentioning that was like 2,000 plus feet. Well, I want to say it took like a week to prep to even make sure it was going to sample in the first place. And which meant the entire area that we were on, it was already like a dirt pile. So once it finally was like ready to sample, it was a mud pit. And wearing tennis shoes or wearing just simple like half boots immediately sucked you in like quicksand and did not let you go. I ended up having to buy waders that weekend because we were going to sample again the like following week. And I was told you might want to get some bigger boots so you don't keep sinking into the mud and not getting out. Because there was at one point I had the small boots on. I go out to sample, and the thing is, we've gotten stuck multiple times. Like, my advisor got stuck. A friend of mine that helped sample also got stuck. One of the other people who assisted us also got stuck. But they got like stuck and they kind of wiggled and got out. Well, my luck goes out into the mud. I'm like, do, and I hit the mud and I immediately sink down to like my knees. I am like knee depth into it. And I'm just like, guys? And they're like getting ready to set up and they're like, where's Heather? And I'm like, guys? And they went, oh crap, she's stuck. Because I was so stuck to my knees, I couldn't move. So my advisor, I wouldn't believe it was my advisor and one of the people who came out to help just grabbed me by both arms and just went yoink. And I believe I got pulled out of my shoes into the mud, and then I went to pull up my shoes, which they both apologized for getting me into the mud. And I was like, look, I was already like knee depth in the mud. Like, me getting more on top of me, I'm like, I can go home and take a shower. Like, this is not a big deal. I just was stuck and I wanted to get out. So getting the waders after that was a blessing for the additional sampling we had to do. And then of course, when we were going to finish, were finishing the sample of that well, which we had already, the first time I got stuck in the mud, the second time it was fine. The third time we got snowed in and we had to like put a pause on my sampling for a while, for like a couple of weeks. And then we finally could get back out there. Well, it was still snowy. So we were parked like on the side of the road. Like, this is like the mud pit. And then there's like this area. And then like the road would be over here. So we were parked like over here. We had to climb through the snow to get to the mud pit. That was kind of muddy, but also kind of slick. Sample and then climb back this way. So definitely had my adventures with sampling. And current job, I don't do that as often. I don't really get the opportunity to. Which is why I'm hoping when I do my thesis or my PhD, I will be able to do it a lot. let's see. I'm trying to decide, which is why I keep talking and not crocheting, is trying to figure out if I want to continue to stream or if I want to call it here. If I still feel like crocheting, do I feel like doing other stuff? That's the question I've been pondering in my mind. Okay, itch on my face. Because now that we finished a hat, of course I still have like 3-4 more hats to do, but I may just take it easy for the rest of the night and chill out and have some fun. So I think I'm gonna call it here. That was a little crochet stream. We finished one hat for Christmas. I'll be on the next one, which is either I have to do a red one, a green one, and a blue one. And then now that I think my dad doesn't have one, I may have to do like a different color. I may do like a royal blue for him and then do a navy for the other, because then the royal blue would match mom's as well. So I may do that. But that will be the end of this stream. It's a little crocheting. Like I said, I'm Heather. I'm Heather the Sunflower Witch. I don't know if I actually started with that. But I do a variety of different things. You can see we did a little crochet, which this is like this camera. Hello, is my crafting camera. I try to do, if I do any sort of crafting stream, whether it's crocheting, painting, perler beads, anything of this nature, I can set it up here and then do this while my hands are in view. Also, I gotta show my favorite bracelet that goes with my sweater. But that's what this camera's for. We do a lot of different things between crafting versus writing, which the writing is usually just my face on screen with my book to the side. Or we do gaming, which can be a variety of different games, as we can see. But there's also a lot of YouTube videos of gaming too on my channel. So if you want to watch any of those are up on Heather the Sunflower Witch on YouTube, which is linked up top up here. And then also, I have my Etsy linked up here, which is the Handmade Hypotheses. There's a 40% off sale going on my shop right now. So if you're interested in like tarot readings, earrings, perler bead stuff, crochet blankets, stuff like that, check up on that site and you'll see some interesting stuff for 40% off. And then my book, Dancing with My Demons, is out right now. There we go. It just got published, or finished publishing this today, so it's officially out. And if you like poetry, feel free to check it out on Amazon, Kobo, Barnes & Noble, and all the other fun stuff. But that is the end of the stream, so I will see you guys in the next